This is Machete.
Danny Trejo is an actor who, thanks to the many roles of negative characters, is called the most famous villain of the modern American film industry. Even though he debuted in the cinema quite late, Trejo's filmography has more than 300 works. A drug addict with a criminal past is turned into a machete, who is now known all over the world. The story of his life is unique, and you'll learn all about this by watching this video. Machete: How Danny Trejo became a Hollywood star after 11 years in prison. Daniel Danny Trejo was born on May 16, 1944, in a poor neighborhood of Los Angeles. His father, Dan Trejo, worked as a construction worker and had an affair with a married woman named Dolores, whose husband fought in World War II. Mexicans by nationality who had immigrated to the United States met at a dance party. Trejo was the result of an extramarital affair. He had a half-sister on his mother's side, Dejan. The family lived in poverty, hardly paying the bills for water and electricity. His father abandoned his mother when Danny was 3 years old, and the boy started living with his grandmother. According to the actor, it was a happy time. He became interested in dancing and considered it an amazing activity. Later, Danny, along with his father and 6 brothers, moved in with his grandfather. The father, who had remarried by that time, was the first role model but never showed his love to his son. But Alice, the stepmother, who had no children of her own, thought of Danny like a family. At the age of 8, the boy tried marijuana. His uncle Gilbert introduced him to drugs. He did not work anywhere. He was engaged in theft, drug trafficking, and was a great authority with Danny. It was he who introduced his nephew into the criminal world, and he often assisted him. At first, the boy broke into cars, was involved in petty theft, and later switched to armed robbery and drug trafficking. As the actor said, at some point he had to make a choice, to become a drug dealer or a laborer. He chose the former and plunged headlong into crime, for which he eventually had to pay. Trejo had a close encounter with the police for the first time at the age of 10, and after 2 years he went to prison. At 12, he became a heroin addict and used every opportunity to get a dose. The young man spent time on the streets of Los Angeles, where he learned to fight and even wanted to start a professional boxing career. By the way, he was introduced to boxing by the same Uncle Gilbert, who was his nephew's sparring partner. In street fights, Danny learned how to defend himself and also worked out his blow. For his strength, he received the nickname Knockout. And thanks to his fearlessness, he won the respect of local criminal authorities, and they nicknamed him Senior. In 1959, 15-year-old Trejo was jailed again. 2 years later, he was released, and then again found himself in those places. In 1962, after his release from juvenile prison, he met his first wife, Laura. The girl's parents did not approve of this relationship, but the lovers got married in the backyard of the Trejo family home. However, the couple did not have a happy family life. Danny was on drugs, continued to commit crimes, and during his next stay behind bars, the girl filed for divorce. Danny has several criminal records, one of which ended in a lengthy imprisonment. The young man spent a total of 11 years in juvenile delinquent camps and 6 Californian prisons. He served time for mutilation, possession and sale of drugs, armed robbery, and other crimes. In prison, Trejo received a certificate of secondary education and returned to boxing, becoming a champion in light and welterweight. In each of the prisons where the future actor had to spend time, he felt like he was at home, because the relationship between prisoners was not very different from his street background. Danny wasn't a model prisoner. He fought with his cellmates, managed to sell drugs, and attempted to escape more than once. A big role in Trejo's coming of age was played by his cellmate Elroy May, who was sentenced to life. The prisoner advised him to learn how to stop during a fight and continue to train, building up his muscles. Having listened to the instructions of an older friend, Danny had about 40 fights in the prison ring, winning in all. This helped him earn credibility and not increase his sentence after a violent riot on May 5, 1968 in the Soledad prison. On that day, the prisoners were playing baseball. A scuffle broke out and Trejo threw a stone at the guard. The victim did not say who did it, and no one testified against Danny. Therefore, the case ended in solitary confinement and not the death penalty or life imprisonment. The first thing that caught his eye in the cell was a wall with the inscription, "And where is your God now?" This prompted Danny to reflect on his behavior, promising that if the Lord would allow him to die with dignity, he would extol the name of God every day and help others in any way he could. So a miracle happened to him in prison. Trejo decided to get rid of his drug addiction and became a participant in the rehabilitation program 12 Steps. And 3 months later, he came out of solitary confinement a different person and began to help prisoners. Having been released on August 23, 1969, Danny completely changed his lifestyle. He began to help his mother's elderly neighbors free of charge, collecting garbage and mowing lawns, for which he was once given a jacket made of artificial suede. He got a job at an auto repair shop, and in his spare time attended Alcoholics and Drug Addicts Anonymous clubs. In this environment, Trejo, who had conquered his addictions, revealed his talent as an orator and began to help others get rid of them. Even his beloved uncle could not lead him off a new path. At the same time, Danny maintained his physical fitness, and the ability to box masterfully helped him to become a coach. Like many celebrities, he started acting in films thanks to a lucky accident. One day, Trejo got a call from one of the guys he was helping to cope with addiction and asked for his support, fearing a breakdown. Danny arrived at the specified address and got to the set of the movie Runaway Train. It was 1985 and drugs were commonplace in the film industry. The friend offered his savior to play a prisoner in the crowd for a fee of $50. Danny laughed and said the prison uniform fit him perfectly. Unexpectedly, there he met ex-cellmate Eddie Bunker. In prison, he was a well-known personality. Bunker wrote statements of claim for other prisoners, for which they paid him hundreds of dollars. When he was serving his 18 years, he began to write books. After being released, Bunker decided to leave prose for a while and took up screenplays and consulting directors. Eddie asked Trejo to teach one actor to box. It was Eric Roberts. This job was supposed to cost $320 a day, which Danny was incredibly happy about. The director of the film, Andrei Konchalovsky, was drawn to the colorful Mexican and gave him a small role, and also sent him to write an application to the Actors Union, which was a prerequisite for work. The newcomer to the union was refused because Trejo was just some guy from the street. Then Konchalovsky decided to do it himself, and Danny received the necessary documents and at the same time found a new friend. When he saw how much he was paid for filming, he thought it was a mistake. The amount was much more than he expected. As the actor admitted in an interview, he had never got such a jackpot either on robberies or selling drugs. After Konchalovsky's film, Danny Trejo became popular. There was no end of offers for filming movies and TV series. He accepted any offer and said that for money he was ready to act even in the stupidest comedy, but only if his hero died. Over time, Trejo began working on 5-6 projects a year, mostly in episodic and minor roles. His criminal records were also appreciated. Danny began to be invited as a consultant on various crimes. In 1993, Trejo had a chance to visit the San Quentin prison, familiar from his criminal past, but not as a prisoner, but on the set of the film Bound by Honor for a scene of mutiny. By the way, it was in this prison that work began on the creation of his most famous tattoo on the actor's chest. The notorious woman in a sombrero was tattooed on Danny by his cellmate Harry Ross, but he did not have time to finish it as Trejo was transferred to Folsom Prison. Saying goodbye, Ross ordered not to let anyone touch the tattoo, which he wanted to finish himself, and it happened later. This tattoo on Trejo's body was shown in almost 200 films. It, like his other tattoos, perfectly complements his image. The turning point in the actor's life, according to him, was the film Heat. Before Danny got the role in honor of his uncle Gilbert Trejo, he and Edward Bunker were hired as armed robbery consultants. Director Michael Mann introduced him to Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, which Trejo was incredibly happy about. He later admitted that his death in this film was the most difficult for him in his career. Real success overtook him after the beginning of a cooperation with Robert Rodriguez. In the films of his second cousin, Danny played the most striking roles. Curiously enough, they first met during the casting of the film Desperado, where Rodriguez needed a frightening silent villain. A year later, the Mexican starred in his cousin's film From Dusk Till Dawn.
And now, for your viewing pleasure, the mistress of the macabre, the epitome of evil, the most sinister woman to ever dance on the face of this earth.
This was followed by works in such stellar movies such as Le Jaguar, 6 Days, 7 Nights, Inferno, Point Blank, Con Air, and others.
This ain't happening. Not here, not now.
What's happening?
Hey! Relax, he's right. Not here, not now.
By the way, in the films, Danny Trejo died about 70 times, more often than any other movie hero. Film critics have noted that in the role of a criminal and a villain, the actor is organic, as if he is not acting, but reliving episodes from his criminal past. It's worth noting that Danny didn't always play the bad guys. In the trilogy Spy Kids, he embodied the image of a positive character, as in the films Bubble Boy and Cherry Baby. The actor also starred in TV series. His filmography includes such well-known projects as Desperate Housewives, The X-Files, Baywatch, Breaking Bad, Bones, Monk, and others. By the way, Trejo didn't want to star in Desperate Housewives. Nevertheless, his manager got a tiny role for him. It turned out that even former prisoners and drug addicts were interested in this project. When the tough guys found out about Danny's work in the series, they spent hours asking the actor about the episode he played. Later, when he returned to the set, he brought a whole stack of photos and asked the stars of the TV show to sign them for the guys. In 2000, Steve Buscemi's crime drama Animal Factory was released.
You done missed us too much anyway, Holmes.
Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven, right?
Got that right.
During the filming of this movie, Danny made his debut as a producer. The script for the film was written by an old friend, Eddie Bunker, and the newly minted producer invited his best friends, including Mickey Rourke, John Hurt, and Seymour Cassel to play cameo roles. Among the iconic films of the early 2000s with Trejo are Night Stalker, Triple X, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, The Devil's Rejects, Grindhouse, Delta Farce, Halloween, Smiley Face, Hood of Horror, and others. In 2010, a dozen films with the actor's participation were released, but the most successful was the thriller Machete.
Look at this. Got you all the right papers. You can start over now. Be a real person.
Why do I want to be a real person when I'm already a myth?
This work, with Danny Trejo in the title role, is the result of a fruitful collaboration with Robert Rodriguez. It was a continuation of the idea from a fake trailer shot by the director for the Grindhouse project, as well as a spin-off of the Spy Kids film series. Machete is Trejo and his mom's favorite movie. It is noteworthy that Rodriguez has a tradition of naming Trejo's characters after knives. For example, Navajo in the action movie Desperado, Razor Charlie in From Dusk Till Dawn, or Truchillo in Predators. 2 years later, Trejo came to Moscow to present Andrei Konchalovsky's film Runaway Train as part of the anniversary retrospective of the director who gave him a ticket to the world of acting. In 2013, the series of films about the children of spies continued with the movie Machete Kills, where the actor again played the main role.
Give me one fucking good reason I shouldn't shoot him like the dog that he is.
If he dies, thousands in Washington die with him.
And if he lives, how many more will die? And why help the U.S.?
Because I'm the only one who can.
He was lucky enough to work with Lady Gaga. Danny was delighted to meet the singer. The actress cooked her food during filming, and after her departure, Trejo decided to take the dishes used by the performer as a souvenir. In the winter of 2015, the actor appeared in a Snickers commercial for the Super Bowl. The video is a parody of the cult American sitcom The Brady Bunch, in which Trejo acted as one of the central characters, Marcia Brady. At the end of the same year, Danny starred in an advertisement for an amateur modification for Counter-Strike: Global Offensive. In 2017, the actor appeared as a guest at the final dinner of the 16th season of the popular culinary reality TV show Hell's Kitchen, starred in several TV series, as well as the American-Russian film Maximum Impact. In June of the same year, the French-Japanese cartoon Matafuckas was released, where the actor took part in the voice acting of a character named Bruce, and in August, Jaguar spoke in his voice in the episode Pickle Rick of the third season of the animated show Rick and Morty. In 2018, Trejo visited Moscow again, this time as a special guest of the pop culture festival Comic-Con Russia, where he presented the popular mobile shooter Guns of Boom. Trejo became the face of the game's advertising campaign, with a virtual copy of the actor and his voice for the new Against All mode. He also met with fans and answered their questions. A year later, the inimitable Machete performed at a similar festival in Kiev, where he made a real splash. A couple of thousand people came running for a short chat with the actor. The audience screamed with delight when Danny called Robert Rodriguez right from the stage to find out when he would start working on the long-awaited film Machete Kills Again in space. There was no response from the director, so the festival guests regarded it as a joke. As for the first Machete movie, people were most interested in whether Jessica Alba was a great kisser. Danny admitted that he kissed her 6 times, deliberately spoiling the takes so that he could kiss her again. After that, the actor was chased by 3 partners on the set. The guys jokingly said that Danny should share the aftertaste, because they can't get a kiss with Jessica. Meanwhile, the actor added the following works to his filmography: the TV series Kidding, the films 3 from Hell, and Madness in the Method. Trejo later signed a contract to participate in the Man-at-Arms show. As part of the program, he met with historians, designers, and martial artists to test weapons. In August of 2019, the actor witnessed a collision of two cars, one of which overturned. The incident occurred in Los Angeles. An elderly woman with an autistic grandson was in the overturned car. To save him, Trejo tried to climb inside through the broken window, but he failed to unfasten the kid's seatbelt. Another witness of the incident came to the rescue, who helped to pull the child out. The kid was very scared, and to calm him down, Danny came up with the idea that they have superpowers which will help them. The actor explained that the child survived only thanks to the car seat. While he was fidgeting with it, rescuers arrived and pulled his grandmother out of the car. In the same year, documentary filmmaker Brett Harvey, with the participation of Robert and Michelle Rodriguez, Cheech Marin, and Donald Logue, made a biographical film, Inmate No. 1, The Rise of Danny Trejo. There, the actor plays himself. The director even talked to criminals who remember the main character from his criminal past. During the same period, he took part in the filming of the TV series What We Do in the Shadows, the animated series The Casa Grandes, the family film Dora, and The Lost City of Gold, where he voiced the monkey Boots. During his career, Trejo participated in making dozens of documentaries, appeared as himself in TV series, and starred in several music videos. The popularity of the actor is difficult to overestimate. He became the hero of a series of American comics, DMZ, several computer games, and even songs dedicated to him by Mexicans. Danny loves to cook. Back in 2016, he decided to try his hand at the restaurant business. In Los Angeles, the actor opened his first Mexican restaurant, which was named Taco Trejo. They serve traditional tacos with all kinds of fillings, and the owner personally tastes all the dishes. A year later, Cantina Trejo and Coffee and Donuts Trejo followed. Danny personally makes sure that there is food for everyone in his establishments. While working with autistic people, he found out that many of them do not tolerate gluten. That's why there is a large selection of gluten-free dishes in Trejo's restaurants. A vegetarian, a vegan, and a lover of traditional Mexican cuisine will always leave well fed. His business also carries a social mission. The celebrity hires young guys from poor families and those who had problems with the law. Another big project that the actor has joined is the protection of Mexican workers on U.S. farms. Most of them do not know how to speak English and have difficulty reading, which means that they do not know what rights they have. Trejo actively donates money and conducts workshops for them. Last year, the actor performed roles in films Final Kill, The House Next Door, and Pistolera. He also voiced El Diablo in the cartoon The SpongeBob Movie, Sponge on the Run. He also wrote a cookbook, which was published under the title Trejo's Tacos, Recipes and Stories from LA. In it, he tells about his life and shares recipes of Mexican dishes that he cooks himself with pleasure. Many of the recipes were passed to him from his mother, who in constant poverty had to be resourceful to feed the family. Now many of those dishes are cooked in Trejo's restaurants. However, the celebrity keeps some secrets to himself, such as the recipe for ninja sauce. The actor says to get it, the spies would have to go through 12 reinforced doors. In addition to his film career, which began at the age of 41, public activity has been important for Trejo for more than a decade. Despite his turbulent youth, Dan wants to be a positive example and to help the next generation not to make mistakes. Therefore, all his life he helps friends and acquaintances with addictions and conducts lectures on the dangers of drugs in schools and prisons. The actor prefers to play negative characters to show children by example how not to behave. Despite his age, Danny Trejo is in great physical shape. Without slowing down, he continues to act in films and music videos, striking everyone with his optimism. However, his characters have started fighting less. Danny, by his admission, is still able to charm young girls, but stiffness in the joints is increasingly making him a little uncomfortable. This year, the 77-year-old actor presented the book Trejo, My Life of Crime, Redemption, and Hollywood, and starred in the military action movie The Rebels of PT-218. Fans of fantastic thrillers will be glad to see their idol starring in the film Prey. In addition, the actor took part in the voice acting of the character of the 9-part animated fantasy, Maya and the Three. As we can see, Danny has big plans for the current year, which he is successfully fulfilling. In an interview, Trejo gives the impression of a friendly and open person, but he does not like to talk about his personal life. Danny never tires of repeating that from the moment he gave up his pernicious passion for drugs in prison, His only bad habit was the habit of getting married. At the same time, Trejo does not talk about his ex-wives. It is known that in 1997, he married actress Debbie Shreve. The couple had a daughter, Daniel, and a son, Gilbert. But the couple's relationship did not work out. In the summer of 2009, they filed for divorce. Previously, Danny had several other marriages, not including the first one. In total, the actor has 5 children from different women. The fortune of the evil tattooed Mexican, as Danny Trejo humorously calls himself, is $8 million.
Danny, don't you feel you're being stereotyped? And I said, what do you mean? She says, well, you're being typecast. I says, as what? She says, well, you're always playing the mean Chicano dude with tattoos. I said, lady, I am the mean Chicano dude with tattoos.
The celebrity lives in his own house in the San Fernando Valley. It is known that Danny prefers the Pacoma area, to which he moved at the age of 13. And if earlier Trejo and his gang kept the whole neighborhood in fear, now he is a respected person there. This is confirmed by a huge graffiti portrait of the actor on one of the buildings of his favorite neighborhood in Los Angeles. If you look into the Machete's garage, you can see several cars in it, including a rare 1936 Dodge Touring sedan, a 65-year-old Buick Riviera, and a 50-year-old Chevrolet. What do you think made Danny Trejo so successful? If you like the video, leave a like and also subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss anything interesting.